Is that what Nathan is?
No, that's what Kevin was that might be doing. On vacation last week. That's that one person that's in there between Kevin.
Mess with your schedule, but
Remember whatever I said?
It's on here.
We have one person managing. That's what Nathan's job is. Next week.
All right, good evening, folks. I'm going to call this meeting to order. If you all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call, please.
Alderman Hoffman.
Here.
Alderman Schuman. Alderman Rucker.
Here.
Alderman Ross. Here. Alderman Rose.
Here.
Alderman Osteen.
Here.
Mayor Harmison.
Here. All right, first thing on the agenda is proclamations. I do have one tonight. Proclamation Constitution Week, September 17th through the 23rd of 2023. Whereas September 17th, 2023 marks the 236th anniversary of the framing of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention outlining the fundamental principles by which our nation is governed. And our Constitution, the guardian of our liberties, embodies the principles of limited government in a republic dedicated to the rule by law and establishing basic governing principles for society. These include power sovereignty, federalism, judicial review, individual rights, and separation of powers through the system of checks and balances. And in 1955, the Daughters of the American Revolution began the tradition celebration of the Constitution. The resolution was later adopted by the U.S. Congress and signed into public law on August 2nd, 1965 by President Dwight D. Eisenhower. And the Daughters of the American Revolution Washazie Chapter, NSDAR, Lake of the Ozarks, considered it a privilege and the duty to celebrate this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary. Now, therefore, I, Michael Harmison, Mayor, do hereby proclaim September 17th through the 23rd, 2023 as Constitution Week and ask our citizens to reflect on the ideals outlined in the Constitution of the United States as amended over time and recognize the efforts and sacrifices of not only our nation's founding fathers, the crafters of the Constitution, but also the brave individuals that have defended it and reaffirm the ideals of the Constitution by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guarding of our liberties. In a testimony, therefore, I hereunto set my hand to cause the seal of the city of Osage Beach, Missouri, to affix this 7th day of September, 2023. All right, I have one more. It's not a proclamation, but I'm going to take this time to read a letter or an email I received August 23, 2023. And it said, Dear Michael Harmison, Tara Bareth, Missouri Municipal Court, City of Osage Beach, has earned the designation of Master Municipal Clerk, MMC, which is awarded by the International Institute of Municipal Clerks, IIMC Incorporated. IIMC grants the MMC designation only to municipal clerks who complete demanded education requirements and have a record of significant contributions to the local government, community, and state. The International Institute of Municipal Clerks, founded in 1947, has 14,000 members throughout the United States, Canada, and 15 other countries. And the mission of the global nonprofit corporation is to enhance the educational opportunities and professional development of its diverse membership. In light of the speed and drastic nature of change these days, lifelong learning is not only desirable, it is necessary for all in local government to keep pace with the growing demands and changing needs of the citizens we serve. Your city can take immense pride in Tara's educational accomplishments and achievement in this milestone. On behalf of the IIMC Board of Directors, I am honored to endorse the conferring of MMC to Tara Bareth, MMC of City of Osage Beach. We share your pride in this achievement and we applaud your support of the role Tara plays in your city. Congratulations, Tara. So round of applause. Thank you very much. Congratulations. And everybody, this is Jen Joy up here with us. She is sitting in Tara today. You're going to be working up here in her absence, so welcome to the dais. All right, next we're going to move on to citizens communications. This is a time set aside on the agenda for citizens and visitors to address the mayor and board on any topic that is not a public hearing. For those here in person, speakers will be restricted to 3 minutes unless otherwise permitted. Minutes may not be donated or transferred from one speaker to another. Visitors attending via online will be in listen-only mode. Any questions or comments for the mayor and the board may be sent to the city clerk at tberreth@osagebeach.org no later than 10 a.m. on the board meeting day, the first and third Thursday of each month. Submitted questions and comments may be read during citizens communications section of the agenda. The Board of Aldermen will not take any action on any item not listed on the agenda, nor will it respond to questions, although staff may be directed to respond at a later time. The Mayor and Board of Aldermen welcome and value input and feedback from the public. Is there anyone here in person who would like to address the board? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of the consent agenda. Has the board had a chance to review the minutes and the bills, the minutes from August 17, 2023, and the bills list to September 7, 2023? If we do not have any comments or questions, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Hoffman, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Morose, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, consent agenda is approved. We only have one item on the unfinished business. It's Bill 23-65, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, adding to Chapter 210 offenses, Section 210.050, administrative search warrants of the City of Osage Beach Code of Ordinances. This is a second reading. City Attorney Cole Bradley, please. Bradbury, excuse me.
Nothing further. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any further questions for the board? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve second reading?
Motion.
Alderman Ross, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Hoffman, roll call, please.
Alderman Osteen?
Yes.
Alderman Rose?
Yes.
Alderman Ross?
Yes.
Alderman Rucker?
Yes.
Alderman Schuman? Alderman Hoffman?
Yes.
All right, second reading passes. Next, we're going to move on to a presentation by loggers. It's Missouri Local Government Employees Retirement System. And just for the record, when I was running, I talked to several police officers about the possibility of adding loggers. I talked to the alderman and met with loggers several months ago. And then our human resource manager was diligent in talking with them. So with that, we will turn it over to Mike Race, the human resource generalist.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. As requested earlier this year, we've been asked to assemble information to bring to the board to discuss the feasibility for the city to join the loggers' defined benefit retirement plan. Much of the information being presented this evening you have contained in your board packet for review. It's the same presentation that loggers is going to have. Tonight's item, again, is discussion only. I'm expecting there's going to be questions that can't be answered this evening, and I'll make note of those and follow up with responses in the near future. Our presenter tonight is Jenny Medlin. Jenny is an education and outreach specialist for the Missouri Loggers. She will be available until 6:40 p.m. as she has another commitment to attend. And I'll turn it over to you, Jenny.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Mayor Hermison. Thank you, Board, for allowing me to attend this evening. Please pull out the guide to joining loggers and turn to page 5 if you would like to follow along, or look at the screen. I have it here as well. I'd like to let you know loggers was created back in 1967 by the General Assembly, so we are set up in state statute. We were created by like-minded individuals who serve communities throughout Missouri to provide a guaranteed benefit for like-minded individuals that serve locally for local political subdivisions. We were established then, loggers itself, to administer such benefits. Our benefits, which we provide, are known as a defined benefit plan or a public pension. We use a formula to guarantee lifetime benefits to retirees from loggers for the work they have devoted to loggers covered employers. Currently, Missouri Loggers covers over 850 different employers statewide. Again, we do solely cover political subdivisions within the state of Missouri. That now covers over 330 cities or municipalities, but we also cover fire departments, emergency telecommunicators, libraries, health departments, a number of employers. So again, over 850 employers have elected and joined or partnered with loggers to provide this guaranteed benefit to their employees in retirement. The formula Loggers uses to calculate benefits is here at the top of page 5 in the middle box. We look at an employer's elected benefit program. Our benefit programs provide a multiplier that range anywhere from 1% to as great as 2% if you contribute to Social Security. For entities that do not participate in Social Security, loggers can provide for a 2.5% multiplier. The second factor of a formula when calculating retirement is one's credited service. Whether an individual works only 5 years with a loggers covered employer, or if they devote their full career of 20 plus years, they're earning service credit for every month they show up and work full time. And the third and final factor used to calculate these lifetime benefits is what's known as a final average salary. Through loggers, we offer either a 5-year or a 3-year final average salary, during which we are looking at each individual member's last 10 years of covered employment for their either 3-year or 5-year greatest and consecutive wages. By adding those together, we divide it by the appropriate 60-month or 36 months to come up with their final average salary. So for instance, this calculator, imagine an individual earning roughly $60,000 consecutively for 3 years towards the end of their career, dividing it by 36 months, their final average salary of $5,000. This individual who devoted 20 years of their career, and with a multiplier of a 1.5%, or what's known as our L7 benefit program. That individual with a 20-year career earning roughly $60,000 towards the end, they would be entitled to a monthly benefit of $1,500. That does represent gross wages, or gross pay rather. So benefits from loggers are subject to taxable income, both state and federal. But in the state of Missouri, we are honored or privileged to have a Missouri public pension exemption, in which case many of our retirees who continue to live in the state are exempt either fully or partially from owing state tax on this public pension. And again, that monthly benefit is payable to the retiree on the first business day of every month for as long as he or she shall live. It does not expire or run out. That is primarily why Loggers was created, to establish this guaranteed lifetime benefit for employees. In addition to retirement though, Loggers membership also provides for disability benefits and or survivor benefits. In the event as an active employee, or rather as a member before they retire, should a member sustain an injury or illness that results in permanent disability from doing the job for which they are hired, or that results in death, that is where they may qualify for disability retirement to pay them a benefit monthly for the rest of their life. Or if it is death, their loved one, a surviving spouse, or surviving dependent children could qualify for monthly benefits payable until either they age out, or in the case of a spouse, payable to that spouse for life. Again, there are some qualifying criteria to be met for those, but being a member of Loggers provides for that additional support just in case the worst case scenario should ever happen. When it comes to joining Loggers as an employer, it's important to know that you have a number of elections or choices and decisions to make. On pages 6 and 7 of your guide to joining, it outlines these options and these elections. On page 6, there in the gray box, you'll see these are your one-time elections. First and foremost, the decision to join Loggers. That is a one-time election to partner with Loggers, and in doing so, there is no exit provision. So it is a major decision. When joining, it is in perpetuity. It is to cover all qualified eligible members or employees of the city now and in the future to guarantee them this benefit. Next, your hours for coverage. You get to elect and deem forever what qualifies an employee with the city for eligibility in loggers. Whether it's an employee hired to work full-time, be it 1,000 hours, 1,250 hours, or 1,500 hours, you get to make that election. Remember, it too is a one-time election. So for instance, if electing the 1,500 hours, any employee that you hire for the city that is expected to work 1,500 hours or more in a given year, they would qualify for loggers membership, regardless of if they cover or would qualify for other benefits the city may offer. The third election, that is a one-time election, is known as prior service coverage. With prior service, that is upon joining the service that your current employees have already rendered or devoted for the city. What of that prior service would the city be willing to cover, if any? In the case of City of Osage Beach, with your preparation of the valuation, you do have the option to cover 0 or 25, 50, 75%, or fully 100% of that prior service. So imagine somebody with 10 years of service already with the city. Upon joining loggers, if you were to adopt to cover 100%, that means that employee, they must maintain full-time employment or eligibility for 1 year from the time the city joins. After doing so, your election of 100% prior service would then credit their former 10 years to their account. So not only have they physically worked while serving under loggers 1 year, but now that they've stayed employed with the city for 1 full year from joining, those 10 years of their former service or prior service are credited to their membership. Now they have 11 years of service towards their loggers retirement calculation. But remember, you do have the ability to elect lesser prior service coverage. I have prepared an example to show coverage of 50% prior service, for example. And then the final decision you have to make regarding one-time elections are your departments covered. Your evaluation was prepared to represent your employee group of general employees, police, as well as public safety individuals. So if you adopt to join loggers and cover those 3 departments, you could never not cover them. Loggers does also provide for a fire department coverage for that when it's applicable to cities or to that employer. That again are your one-time elections. Then following on page 6 and flowing into page 7 are elections that you get to make initially, but after 2 years of being a member, these elections can change. So future board members will have the ability to reevaluate and assess the needs of the ongoing workforce for the city and determine what changes to benefits through loggers, if any, would be supported or necessary due to budgetary or workforce requests. Those include the benefit program. As mentioned, that benefit program is the first factor of your retirement formula. When electing that program, they are named or labeled such as L1, L3, L7. I know that does not make much sense to us as we're looking at them, but you can refer to that City of Osage Beach initial valuation, that 92-page document there, about 22 pages into it, so just under a third. You will see there's an Appendix 3, Summary of Loggers Provisions. And on page 1 of that, or pardon me, page 18 rather, of that appendix, it shows the corresponding multiplier for each benefit program. L1 is our entry level or our base program, not necessarily entry level, it's a matter of your personal preference, but it's the lowest, it's our 1%. On average, we see many employers joining at the mid-level with the L7 as well, 1.5%. So as we look through this later, I will be focusing on an example looking at that L7 benefit program, but please remember it's up to you to decide what's best for the workforce should you choose to join. The other election is what's known as your final average salary. Remember, this is the third factor in the retirement calculation, and Loggers provides two options, either a 5-year final average salary or a 3-year final average salary. Of the two available options, a 3-year final average salary is going to result in slightly greater benefits to a retiree, okay? Typically because we're averaging fewer years of service opposed to the 5. With that being said, the 3-year final average salary also comes at a greater cost to the employer to fund that type of benefit. And then page 7 highlights the other two elections regarding eligibility and funding. With regards to eligibility, members of Loggers must first be vested in our system to even guarantee and lock in that lifetime benefit. So first and foremost, once a member is a member of Loggers, they have to work for a Loggers covered employer at least 60 months. That's 5 years. That is our vesting schedule. Once they have earned 60 months of Loggers credited service, keep in mind that can be with any Loggers covered employer. It doesn't have to solely be through City of Osage Beach. In doing so, they have secured the vested status and guarantee a future benefit, whether it's for just the 5 years or for additional service they may work and earn. Then it's upon you to decide how or when, rather, they can retire. Loggers recognizes system-wide what is known as normal retirement age. This is our basic, or rather system-wide recognized one, in which general employees can retire at the age of 60, so long as they're vested with 5 years. Your police and public safety departments could retire at the age of 55, again, so long as they're vested with 5 years. That then allows them to retire with full benefits. So that pure formula, multiplier times their credited service times their final average salary to calculate their lifetime monthly benefit. However, under age eligibility, members can retire up to 5 years younger. So general employees could retire at 55, so long as they're vested, and police and public safety could retire as young as age 50, so long as they're vested. That is known, though, as early retirement, and it results in age-reduced benefits. In choosing to retire 5 years younger, we multiply their benefit in accordance with the retirement calculation, but then it is reduced by 30%. That reduction is 0.5% for every month younger an individual is from their regular retirement age. Remember, this eligibility is recognized system-wide. The election you get to add to it if you desire is known as Rule of 80. Rule of 80 eligibility means when an individual's age plus their years of service, when added together, totals 80 or greater. At that time, regardless of how young they may be, they have secured normal retirement eligibility. So for example, imagine hiring a 20-year-old. That 20-year-old works for the city for 30 years. Now they're age 50 with 30 years of service. Adding that age and service together, they have secured Rule of 80. They can retire with full benefits at the age of 50 and start to draw this lifetime benefit. And as retirees from our systems, retirees have a multitude of opportunities to continue to work full-time, part-time, earn other retirement as well. That being said, Rule of 80, because it does allow for members to retire younger, it too comes at a greater cost, typically to employers. And then the final election that can be changed after 2 years is the funding. Loggers assesses funding or costs to purchase and to support this type of lifetime benefit as a percentage of gross monthly payroll. And we'll soon see that on your valuation, what that percentage is per department. as an employer, as the city, you could elect to fully fund these benefits for your employees, meaning they don't pay a dime for it. The contributions that you pay monthly towards loggers go into your personal employer trust. Those funds remain in the trust and they are for the sole purpose of paying retirement to eligible retirees in the future from your city. Okay? That means if an employee works only 2 years for City of Osage Beach, and they never are vested in loggers, those 2 years that you are actively funding their future retirement from you, anticipating they might get vested and qualify, those 2 years worth of funds remain within the employer trust. The member does not have access to the funds you put towards the trust, okay? Funds, again, are only payable from the employer's trust. At the time a member is ready to retire, we conduct a transfer to what's known as our benefit reserve fund to pay the retiree their lifetime benefit at that time. With the funding election, though, you can adopt to require employees to have to help fund this benefit at a rate of 2%, 4%, or 6%. Remember, if adopting employees to have to contribute, it is mandatory for all covered employees. That means it offsets the employer's costs slightly because the member or the employee is also helping to pay for this retirement. So that is a review of the elections. Now please refer to that valuation, that great 92-page document. Please be advised this was provided as of June 7th, 2023, or prepared as of June 7th, 2023, with data provided on a personnel data form from April. Okay. In doing so, we will honor this for 2 years from the date of its preparation, that June 7th. So this valuation that you have paid for and acquired, it is valid and honored in our system for 2 years through May of 2025. So you have time to contemplate, discuss, and learn more about loggers and decide if it is right for your city. I'd like to direct your attention to page 4 of this document, also here on the screen. For the sake of time and to help illustrate how costs are assessed, we're going to focus on if you elected the L7 benefit program, 5-year final average salary, regular retirement eligibility. And we'll take a look at if the city fully funds it or requires 2%, 4%, or 6% employee contributions. Okay. So here, across this table, again, at the top you see it's the 5-year final average salary, regular retirement. Pages 5, pages 5, 6, 7 of this document represent different elections. So that's something to note, that each page is separate elections. But in looking here at the L7 benefit program, taking a look at the general, we see that if the city fully planned to fund this benefit under 0% employee contributions, it would require 17.3% of gross monthly pay to be contributed to loggers. Okay. For police, we see that that contribution rate is 22.5%. For public safety, we see the contribution rate is 18.9%. It is right to ask, what are the differences in those percentages? These are actuarially prepared based on your employee group that was shared with us on that personnel data form, providing us with who your employees are, their pay, their age, how long they have worked for you. And in taking that data in, the actuaries prepare what is the cost to fund this level of benefits. Remember the 1.5% or the L7 benefit program, 5-year final average salary, regular retirement. Well, general employee group, they get to retire at age 60 versus police and public safety who get to retire at age 55. So naturally, police and public safety are going to be slightly more costly because of the early retirement. But also it takes into account all of the prior service of every employee. So the departments are assessed and evaluated separately. Now, the components of that overall contribution rate are broken down in the 3 columns before it. Taking a look at the normal cost rate, this represents the day in and day out, what is needed to provide retirement at this level of benefit for the work that they show up and do now. For general, that's 10% of their overall, police 9.8, public safety 10.8. The next component is casualty rate. This represents a pooled fund amongst all employers to support disability and survivor benefits. In loggers, if it is a duty-related death or disability, loggers add service credit to an individual's account as if they worked until age 60. So imagine a 40-year-old with 10 years of service under her belt, injured on the job. Loggers adds 20 years of service to pay a disability retirement or survivor benefit to her surviving husband. That's 20 years of service that the city itself was not funding or expecting to pay right now. That is why there is a pooled fund amongst all 850 plus employers to share the weight or the load of that possibility. Again, it's very minimal, but it is required. The next column and last component of the overall total employer contribution rate is the prior service cost rate. On your valuation, we have assumed 100% prior service being covered. So this is assuming that your employees, all of the service they have already rendered to the city, you elect to cover fully. You see that that can be costly. For general, it comprises 7% of their overall rate. For police, it's 12.1. For public safety, it's 7.8. When you add those 3 components, that again is what brings us to that first blue column, the total employer contribution rates. Remember, you can elect to require employee contributions of either 2%, 4%, or 6%. And you see in doing so, it does lower the city's overall cost. One thing I've taken upon to prepare to show you, if you should elect less than 100% prior service. Taking a look here on the screen, this is showing the general division. Remember, their overall cost, if you fully fund and choose 100% prior service, is 17.3%. But for instance, if you were to elect to cover less than, and say the 50% prior service, now the total employer contribution is reduced to 14.3%. Likewise, for police, we see that reduction from 22.5 to 17.7. And for public safety, the reduction from 18.9 to 15.4%. If you're choosing to elect to cover less than 100% prior service and would like to see examples for other benefit elections, please let me or Jeff Paps know. We'd be happy to prepare the proper prior service calculation for you based on those elections. But for tonight, this illustrates again that L7 benefit program, 5-year final average salary, 0 employee contributions, regular retirement eligibility. Remember, Loggers is going to assess costs as a percentage of gross payroll, okay? But to help you visualize it in terms of dollars, since that's kind of where you're more minded with budgets, taking a look in that valuation now at page 8, 9, and 10, because pages 8, 9, and 10 represent your different departments. On page 8 here, we see for general, looking at the regular retirement election, 5-year final average salary, 0% employee contributions, L7, that 17.3% of gross annual pay represents roughly $499,186. Keep in mind, this is annual. We would assess it as a monthly, so divide that by 12 would represent what we would expect you to contribute on a monthly basis for your general employees. But we like to emphasize dollar amounts can fluctuate. The percentage will hold steady, but dollar amounts can fluctuate because you may have months where employees have worked overtime, or maybe somebody's gone on leave without pay. And then remember, pages 9 and 10 highlight the police and public safety dollar amounts based on that contribution percentage. This again is to provide you with education more so on why we exist, what it is Loggers does, which is administer that defined benefit plan for employees, and how to interpret the cost. What is the commitment? Upon joining Loggers and partnering with Loggers, once a member or an employer joins, we conduct annual valuations. Every year, we are looking at the assumptions that have been made versus the experience that truly occurred. And we update contributions accordingly, okay? Contribution rates are subject to going up slightly or down slightly, depending on workforce and economic experience. If there was a larger than anticipated return in investments or a lower than anticipated, if there was greater turnover with the employer or more retirements or fewer retirement, that type of experience has impacts to your ongoing contribution rate. So that is why you will hear there are fluctuations year to year, but that is to guarantee proper funding for those lifetime benefits of your retirees in the future. One thing I highly encourage new employers to do is to take a look at our covered employers. You can find that here on our public website, mologgers.org. Under the members drop down, you'll see this member employer listing.
It's on our website.
Here you can search all of our employers, whether it's by county, if it's by type of subdivision that they are. You can take a look at competitors in the area that other municipalities, other police departments, get an idea of what elections they have and talk to them. Ask them, what is it like to be part of Loggers? We highly encourage that. Likewise, please continue to reach out to us. As Mike mentioned, I do have another commitment this evening, and I apologize. There's not time for questions tonight, but please don't hesitate to reach out to myself or to Jeff Pabs. Jeff sends his regards. He too had another commitment, but he will be the lead on your account as you continue to progress through this. The next step, if you've not already done so, is making the valuation available for public viewing for at least 45 days. Once you have met and satisfied that requirement, that is when the board at any time could hold a vote to adopt membership with Loggers. Remember, in doing so, it will require an official ordinance or resolution joining Loggers and outlining the elections which you adopt. And again, you can find that joining process here on page 7. There is just a couple minutes to spare. Are there any pressing questions at this time?
Comments or questions from the board in the next couple minutes?
I have one, I have a ton, but I have one specifically. You keep mentioning about our 3 different groups, which is basically our general, our police, and our public safety. And you talk about our public safety. Now, our public safety people is our dispatch and our ambulance, correct?
It does cover EMT, telecommunicators, yes, then EMT professionals. It would also cover jailers,
Right.
if any employed or future employed with the city.
Okay, you've got 3 different categories, but the problem is, or what I understand, is we really only end up with 2 different situations because our general employees have a retirement age of 60 and our police have a retirement age of 55. Our dispatchers and our EMT and medical people have to retire at age 60 as well. They cannot retire at 55.
If you're adopting with the public safety department, This is newer in loggers. Again, it does cover those telecommunicators, EMT or ambulance personnel, and jailers with the entity. It allows them to retire at 55. So they actually are considered more like police in that case. But if a city joins and does not wish to cover the public safety department, now you're correct. Those individuals who are with the ambulance and as telecommunicators are recognized in the general department.
Well, according to your handout here that you provided us, on page number 7, it talks about normal retirement age. It says, oh, wait a second. Here it says that it's an optional election for employees, and yes, it says this is an optional employer election which allows employers in third-class counties to classify EMS personnel, emergency medical, emergency telecommunicators, and jailers for purpose of retiring at 55. We are not in a third-class county. We're in a first-class county. So according to what you're saying here, our telecommunicators and medical people cannot be at age 55 because they're not in a third-class county.
Thank you for bringing that up. That is a misprint, or rather an old, we are working to update this because as of latest legislation, it did away with the third classification. It is now open to all employers to elect this.
I didn't understand any of that because I'm having a very difficult time hearing her. Can
So
somebody?
recent legislation said that it removed that third class county requirement.
Oh, recent legislation changed, but your proposals are not saying that.
Typo.
And those need to be updated, is what you said.
Okay, the proposal is incorrect. Okay.
Jenny, I know you have to go, so we'll go ahead and let you
Yes.
go for the time being. If we have any questions, we will reach out to you.
Very good. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you much.
Mayor, members of the board, on page 139 in your packet, I went ahead and put together a little overview of what the 144 plans kind of boil down to. On this sheet, you're going to get what the programs are and a little bit of the definitions, reminding you of the final average salary, the rule of 80, what the member contribution is, which is what the employee, we would require them to pay, if anything. Again, there's an example there that has the tables that come directly from the actuarial valuation. One for general employees, one for police employees, one for dispatch employees, and then the chart right below that gives a breakdown of all of those combined. You'll have a line for the benefit program. The UAL, that's the service required, or the service buyback. So if you're not wanting to buy any service back, you would just disregard that total. And then in bold, it would be the annual total based on the employee contribution in funding annually.
In discussions we had too, a lot to digest. We do have 2 years to consider this, and I think the general consensus we had, at least here, was that this is definitely a workshop item. A lot of information here, and she had to leave, but certainly something to look at. And I know you've already picked up something that is wrong in the proposal, but I'm suggesting that we pick a time, sometime in the near future, and have an open meeting and include a workshop and delve into all of this.
That would also give Mike and I time, because there's a lot of legalities and things that need to be uncovered with transferring from one current active system, employer applicate, on the employee side and the employer side, and Mike will be working up real examples of employees in various different service levels and what the positives and the negatives and how that would affect whether you buy back service or don't buy back service, and the vesting times, because it's complicated, but there's also cause and effect of exiting out of a defined contribution plan that we've been in for decades. We have, employees that have loans and different things. So we're working through all the legalities to make sure it's like, this is what it looks like and this is what it'll cost. I do appreciate Mike doing that last page, so it gives you a snapshot of what our annual cost would be if that middle level and buying back all service. And the budget will show you what we currently pay for our 6% program. So if you can give us time to put that stuff, we'll have more pertinent details that pertain just to us, too.
Yes, Alderman Rucker.
Well, I was unhappy that she left us because I have 3 pages of questions. I went through this thing. I've spent numerous hours the last couple of weeks. I appreciate Mike, Michael, for the information he's provided me, because I know at 9, 10 o'clock at night I'll shoot him a question and the next morning I'll get it back and everything. There's quite a bit to this. I've taken quite a bit of interest in it. I'm concerned that we're taking benefits away from some of our employees, and that's what I wanted to find out from her, or the representative from there, what, if it's possible to get some of these benefits that they're saying we can't have. For example, right now our current staff can retire at 55. Everybody can, but under this they can't. I'm glad to hear they have changed the dispatchers and the ambulance personnel, because it did specifically state in their in their presentation that couldn't be done, and she apparently said that has changed. So I'd want to verify that. But I have 28 questions, and I've done my research and answers that I don't have answers for. That's counting loggers' questions. I have about 15 that I've created on our present program, and I will tell you one way or another, I'm going to be suggesting some changes, just from my perspective, even if we stay where we're at, because I have some questions on our present one. So I think we do need to delve into it quite deeply. I've delved into this thing years before when we didn't do it, and so I don't know what stage and how we go about it. For whatever it's worth, I won't be here in October. So.
All right. Any other thing from the board? Yes.
So as I'm understanding, this is not the time that we're going to ask any questions or make any statements?
Yeah, I believe
We're going to wait and
so.
workshop
I
it?
know she said prior to tonight, she just had a situation she had to leave. It was a family matter, but she wanted to at least present the packet, and I would invite all of the board to take the same amount of time Alderman Rucker has to take a look at this, because at the very beginning, I said, I'm not suggesting necessarily we change, but I think we need to take a real hard look at it, and that's why I wanted everybody to be open-minded about it and bring your questions and take a look at it. But this does require a lengthy workshop. We do have 2 years, but I don't want to wait 2 years either. So let's let the staff prepare for the workshop. Let's get it prepared. My suggestion is keep your questions. We'll not do it in October. And
If we can shoot for sometime
Mr. Mayor.
November before the holidays. and
November before the holidays would be wonderful.
Collect your
Yes.
questions, and
Yeah.
we can at least try to make
Well,
sure they all get answered.
I have several, not 28, but I have several.
We'll give it till November, you might have 28.
Alderman Hoffman.
Well, I'm in support of everything that was just said there. I'd like to get to the workshop position too. However, I noticed that there are several officers in dispatch here who maybe they don't have, this is their only opportunity to voice their opinion about something. I just wanted to make sure that they got heard if they wanted to before we moved on.
Well, if anybody wants to say anything, now's the time to do it. I just, what I have said, and I even said it on the radio the other day, is we don't know enough about it. And I know that there's some opinion out there that the retirement plan we have is better than loggers. There's some out there in the recruitment level that says loggers would be good. When all of a sudden you have people coming out of the police academy, and one company says we have loggers, company meaning city, another company says we do not have loggers. Well, if the fact is that our program is better, then we need to learn how to convey that to those coming out of the academy that it is better. So we need to learn as a board, and if any police would like to give us their input, please do. Anybody in the city for that matter. But if our program really is better, then we need to sell that better. And if it's not better, then we need to take a real hard look at loggers. But that's going to take a long time, and I like the idea of a November workshop and all of your questions and comments, and whether you want to email them or talk to any one of us. Alderman Ross.
I was just going to say that whatever the next steps are, somewhere within that process should be some dedicated time and as much as necessary for the folks here and anyone that's not here to provide their input. There's folks that have been on this program for a long time, some that haven't, some have perceptions about loggers, some have perception about ours, but those are the people we affect. And we need to make sure that we have sufficient time for them to express their opinions. Hopefully after they've looked through this also, or even after they've seen some of the comparisons that you're talking about whether it's current versus future or loggers, because I think that is a critical piece, if not the most important piece in this process, is to get some of their feedback.
Plus, if you do go into loggers, it's permanent. So it's not a matter of if you go into loggers, then in a couple, 3 years, we change our mind. So this does take a lot of time, but I want input from everybody, and I appreciate Michael Ray taking the time to talk with loggers and prepare on this report. But let's answer the questions, give us some more questions if anybody wants to give us input, and then we'll certainly make sure that the meeting we have in November is made available for everybody that wants to contribute. All right. Thank you, everybody, very much. Thank you, Michael Reyes.
You're welcome. Thanks, Mike.
All right. Now, if the board does not have any problem with it, I've been asked to move item G, which is the discussion on Rockaway Sands sewer system. Move it up next if we could. If nobody has any problem with that, we have some people that need to get here and do their bit and get on. So if there's no objection.
No objection.
All right, we're going to move on to then discussion on Rockaway Sands sewer station, and I'll turn it over to Assistant City Administrator Mike Welty.
Thank you, Mayor and Board, and thank you for allowing us to move this up. The reason why I asked the Mayor to move this up is because I do have Nathan Earp, our sewer superintendent, and Chris Duncan, our brand new shiny sewer foreman here. So kind of my formal introduction to the board of Chris. As you guys know, Chris has had a lot of experience with the city. Chris started with us on Monday. He has hit the ground running, and we are very pleased to have him on board. So with that out of the way, I called this discussion today really because there has been a lot of talk about what's going on at Rockaway. There's been a lot of talk about what's going on at Sands. So I think it's very important that we make sure the board understands where that plan is going to go for both of those stations. Rockaway, if it was built today, DNR would not approve it because it doesn't have enough storage. So in just a minute, I'm going to turn this over to Dave, and he's going to talk about what that's going to look like if we want to move down that road. And then Sands, we have talked about, and there have been several aldermen that have said that we should go one way. Staff is pretty well ironclad, and that we all believe that the pathway that Dave is going to explain to you is the best pathway for the city. We think it's the most cost effective. We think it's going to last the longest. So with that, I'm going to shut up, and I'm going to turn it over to Dave and let him kind of walk through this. And whether it's Dave or me or even one of these two fine gentlemen sitting out here, if there's any questions that you guys have, we're all here to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. So I'll start with the...
Dave, excuse me, could you use that microphone there, please? I have a hearing aid problem that I'm dealing with. One of my aides stopped on me today.
So I'll start with the Sands portion of the discussion, and I would encourage everybody to go to I think it's page 217 and page 218 of your board packet. It's a color exhibit, almost the last page of your packet. And on page 217, you'll see in the lower right-hand corner there's a E1 labeling on that sheet. And this, as Mike said, this is our preferred option for how we proceed with the repairs to the Sands project. And a lot of this recommendation focuses around just making sure our solution here has longevity, that we're not going to experience another failure like we have in the past. And then also, we also believe this sets the city up the best for limiting the odor concerns that have been experienced in this area in the past. So if you're looking at sheet E1, what you'll see is the thick blue line that runs from, so the circles you see on the sheet are manholes. So the new line we're proposing runs from manhole 3 to 2 to 1 and then dumps into the sands lift station down in the lower right-hand corner of the sheet. So this is the alignment that we proposed before. This is the alignment that we previously bid, and bids were over budget and we did not move forward with the project. I believe trying to bid this project this fall and into the winter, I'm optimistic that we can get more bids. Last time we bid this, we only received one bid. So I think that's important that we get this bid out at a time and we can get more than one bid. The other thing this plan does is it limits, there's 3 new manholes that are associated with this part of the project, with this option. Manholes are a location where the sewer gases can come out of the system. If you go out there and look at the manholes now, they're very, very deteriorated. I think a ways back when we were trying to figure out how to tackle this, we were out there looking at the manholes, and you can take a screwdriver and jam it into the concrete. There's this outer 2 to 3 inches on the inside of the manhole, the first 2 or 3 inches of concrete, there's just nothing left structurally. And that's a result of the sewer gases that you have in your system. The other thing I would say is this is a very critical piece in your system, and I think repairing it in the most robust manner that we can is important to limit incidents like what we experienced at this site in the past. If you flip to the next page, which you'll see in the lower right-hand corner is sheet E2. So as I said before, I think an important part of this plan is limiting the number of manholes that remain on this line. The plan on sheet E1 required 3 manholes. This plan leaves 6 manholes remaining in the system, so twice the number of manholes that were there before. Some of the challenges with trying to reuse the existing alignment, the existing road to get down to the lift station is very congested. As you can see on the sheet, there's multiple lines, multiple sewer lines. There's also electric that's not shown on this sheet. And I think that just kind of speaks to the complexity of this site, just how much is going on and how much happens at this site. Several of the mains along this portion are still clogged with the rock that entered the sewer system during the original failures. And in speaking with contractors, no one has a good idea for how to clean that rock out of the sewer system. So this is 18-inch pipe, and during the failure that happened, essentially like you can envision like a 1-inch minus crushed stone entered the pipe, caused the clog and caused the overflows. And that pipe's just plugged up without a good way to get it cleaned out. Additionally, talking with Nathan has been a big help on this project in his experience in dealing with the system. He's come up with some ideas that possibly can reduce some costs that are associated with the need to bypass pump as part of the project. And we would expect that we can reduce some of the project costs with some of the ideas that he's given us. He also identified another piece of main here that he knew was in poor condition and needed to be replaced, and that is the 24-inch main that runs from manhole 1 to the lift station, that blue stretch down the lower right-hand corner. Again, I just would stress that this is a very critical facility in the city sewer system. Essentially, the entire west Osage Beach goes to this station. So it receives a large amount of sewage. And again, I believe what we've proposed is option 1 on sheet E1 sets you up the best for success in the future. Mike, anything I didn't cover that we've talked about?
The one extra comment that I would make is we have talked about bidding this and then bidding an alternate option. And a lot of my conversation with Alderman Ross on the phone, I've told him that we are willing to do that if that's what the board wants us to do. But there's some pitfalls with that. If you're a contractor and you get the bid book and it says, hey, we want you to bid on the main option, but then we also want you to do a complete other bid for the same thing down a pathway that is 20 foot from the other pathway, we are very concerned that if we ask contractors to do that, they're just going to say, well, I'm not going to mess with this, and then they're just going to put it aside. And so that's one of the concerns we have. Again, we will do that. If that's what the board wants us to do, we will bid both options. But Dave indicated to me earlier today that if we do that, he is very concerned that that will limit the number of bidders that we get. And we're trying, that's what we're trying to do here, is we're trying to find competitive bidding to see if we can identify whether or not this can be done at a lower cost than the one bid that we got earlier this summer. So that's the one thing I would caution the board on. If they want us to bid this out and bid the other one out as an alternate, we will absolutely do that for you. But we are very worried that if we do that, we're just not going to get the interested contractors that we would if we told them, look, this is the pathway and this is what we want you to bid on. And that's the only other comment that I would make.
I have a question though, but is there anybody that thinks E1 is better? I mean, everybody here is saying E1 is the way to go. I mean, E2. E1 is what everybody thinks we should do, correct?
No, well, I don't have a passion.
Oh, no, I mean, as far as you speaking out there, is there anybody out there that's in the sewage business that says, hey, E2 is the better route? I'm sorry, the E1 is one everybody's
Option one.
talking in favor of, yes. Yeah. Is there any negatives? Is there anything positive about going the E2 route? Option 2.
That's the way down the road, down the driveway.
Yeah.
I honestly can't think of anything.
Okay. All right. Comments or questions? Alderman Ross.
So I would say the benefit, one, possibly, I don't know. Okay, so let me just take a step back. Project Management 101, when you're trying to decide whether you repair or replace, is to determine cost of each. Okay?
I'm sorry, Richard.
Is to determine the cost of each, repair versus replace. And let's just say that option, or E2 or whatever, E1, the one that you all prefer, let's call that replace, okay? And let's call the one that you don't prefer repair. And one of the challenges I've had in this entire process is we never have established what it costs to repair. So if my, vehicle out here drops a transmission and the guy says it's $5,000 to repair it, or it's $25,000 to go buy a new one, at least I can make that decision. I guarantee you that going out and around and so on and so forth and eliminating manholes, ain't no doubt it's better. The question is it worth it to be better? Okay? And without that cost, I think that we're foolish to try to make that decision. Okay? I don't know of anyone that is prudent with any of anyone's funds that doesn't try to look at any situation that way. I think we all do that in our daily lives. If somebody says, hey, you can repair your house or you can replace your house, well, what does each cost? It doesn't matter. Every situation is that way, and we've never done that. And we've consistently tried to bypass that. And what we've ended up with is a situation where it looks like now for a year and a half, we're gonna have a sewer pipe run across the ground. Okay? And we don't allow that to anybody else. I think we've got people that are under current jurisdictional process, for lack of a better term, because they have pipes running across the ground for that type of time frame, okay? And so one of the problems is that we just have to produce. We can't have pipes of sewer running across the ground, okay? And we haven't produced. And I don't know that I really care one way or another, because I don't know at the end of the day whether or not one's better than the other. But if you want myself at least to make an educated judgment of which is best, then we need the pricing for both. And on top of that, the reason, did we ever get one price? Didn't we get a price for replacement, if you will, one time? Didn't we get one price? And we thought it was much more than we budgeted, so we walked on it, is that correct?
The price that we got was for option one.
Which is the preferred option.
Correct.
For you all, correct? Right. But we walked on that, is that right? Because we didn't have budgeted money and we didn't want to take that, we wanted to reconfigure, reevaluate or something.
It was something like 500,000 over what we had budgeted, so
Right.
we declined it.
Okay, okay. Well, just to make sure, we did have that number, but, and we could have probably moved forward with this one way or another at that time, but we didn't choose. And by the way, and I understand, Dave, but you know, contractors are busy and so forth, but we asked contractors many times on larger projects to build alternates. Now, maybe they aren't completely alternate projects, but we could have, for the last 6 or 8 months, went out and given them a separate project to bid because they've already, one of them's already done one, and just said, well, how much more or less would it be for this? But we haven't done that. And so that's what my concern has been, the process. But we can't change yesterday, all right? And so we can only affect tomorrow. So I think that we would be foolish not to have the alternate project out there, okay? But that's just my opinion, and so with that, I'll leave it alone.
Any other comments or questions from the board? Alderman Rucker.
Well, I hear what Alderman Ross is saying. I'm also up to here with this site, and I am sick and tired of this site. I am sick and tired of hearing the complaints. I've been on this board longer than anybody, and I'm tired of it. So as far as I'm concerned, it's not that the sky's the limit on the money, and it's not like that there's an endless pot, but there's pretty close to it in my mind, because I want this fixed. And if this is the best fix that we feel there is, as far as I'm concerned, bid out what is the best fix, not what's the cheapest. Thank you.
Alderman Hoffman.
I could see both of your point of view on this, but this thing has been here going on a long time. I do not want to go into next summer going down to get my boot daddy down there at Andy's and smelling it anymore. So I lean towards the direction that Alderman Rucker said. I think we just fix it and fix it right. And I'm thinking, to me, that contractors are going to look at that as a more lucrative option for them. And we've got a brand new thing that works, and we don't have to, we're taking care of our public. And I lean towards your direction on that.
I have one comment.
Sure,
Unless somebody
Alderman
else has something. Have no illusion, this is not going to solve the odor problem, okay? Because until you eliminate manholes, you're gonna have an odor problem, period. You're gonna have less an odor problem, I won't argue that, all right? Until you can seal up a manhole airtight, you're gonna have an odor problem. It's obvious today, right now. I was down there last Thursday or whatever it was, Mike, and we had the new test item that will probably come to us in the future. And right in front of the biggest tank we've got, we had it down there and there was no odor. Standing there with God knows how many thousands of gallons we were standing above, okay? No odor.
No, I'll go down there one day and there's nothing. I'll go down 2 days later and it's terrible.
If I can finish
Oh, I'm
though,
sorry.
at that time, if you went back up the hill 30 yards to 60 yards probably, there was odor.
No.
There was odor coming all the way down because they were coming out of the manholes. Now, don't get me wrong, we will have less probably because we have less manholes, all right? But as long as there's there's manholes up on top that we're not affecting, okay? And so, don't get me wrong, whatever we do is fine, okay? But don't come away with the idea that we're gonna spend X number of dollars here and we're not gonna have any more odor problems down there, because I think that's extremely unlikely, and at best, we're gonna reduce it by about 50%.
Any other comments or questions from the board?
Did the
Alderman Hoffman.
Sorry. When we put this out to bid last time, was it just for one, or was it for both of these, or was it just for one proposal?
It was for a project very similar to what's shown on sheet E1.
But it was just one option, correct?
Yes, sir.
Any other comments or questions? Well, I'm going to say one more thing. Alderman Ross, I'm going to respectfully disagree with you on something, because using your analogy of the car, and I agree, given the options is good, but I would trust, a mechanic that I've gone to for a long time, I would trust. And if he said, Armisen, it makes no sense to fix this minivan any longer. It's old, it's rusty, you got 400,000 on it, it does not make sense to even price out how much would you need a new minivan. I trust these people. I think we should, my opinion is the board give approval to them tonight to give out the one bid for the best option, which is, sounds like E1, and get it done as soon as possible. That's my opinion.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, what do you want? You want a motion tonight to move forward? You want to have the board or no?
I don't think you can do that, sir.
Okay, discussion only.
It's a discussion.
Okay, what's the direction of the board? Is the board, can we even do a roll call vote just to see how we want to move forward? I would like to move forward one way or another. What can we do to make a decision whether to go E1, E2, both?
Legally, I don't think we can.
I think we have the direction we need, sir.
Okay, I'll be quiet then. All right. Any other comments or questions? I'm not going to say anything else. All right. Thank you very much.
They still needed to discuss Rockway?
Correct.
Oh,
Sorry, part 2.
all right, here we go.
Part 2.
Yes, okay, so in the work we've been doing over at Rockway, we've kind of identified something to make that system, that station more robust and, as Mike said, bring it up to DNR standards. Currently, you essentially have no storage at that station. Rockway is the second largest station in the city, and just in order to be able to maintain that station in the future and prevent overflows at that location, we're going to propose to add a relatively large storage structure at that site. And what we're talking about is, and this is approximate, this roughly a structure that's 40-foot square, so 40 foot by 40 foot and 12 foot deep. And what that would do is that would allow, that would provide a storage volume that would allow about 4 hours of peak flow at that site. So currently, when you have a problem at Rockway, it's an immediate issue, and if it's not addressed within a matter of minutes, you're likely going to experience an overflow at that station. This would put your sewage crew in much better position, give time to react. We would get the station set up to where bypass pumping could easily be accomplished when maintenance is needed at that station. It also improves the ability to just perform regular maintenance on the station. So if currently there's no way to stop flow to that station for an extended period of time and get inside the station and do maintenance. The project we're proposing would allow you to divert flows into the storage structure, keep the lift station dry for a significant period of time, get in there and do maintenance, and then once the maintenance is done, divert those flows back to the lift station. What we are proposing is that we would bring this to you in the budget workshops this fall, but look at doing the design work on that project in 2024 and then construction in 2025. So just kind of a preview on one of an additional sewer project that we're going to be bringing to you.
All right. Comments or questions from the board? Alderman Rucker.
If this is such of urgency that it sounds like, because obviously there's a lot of concerns there. We've been lucky for a number of years. Why can't we complete it in '24? Why are we pushing it all the way to '25?
Well, I agree it's important. You know, one thing is we're doing a significant rebuild on that station. We've started it and it's going to be completed over the coming months. So the likelihood of the need for significant maintenance in 2024 should be pretty limited because we're going to have all new equipment there. I feel like the project warrants some time for planning and then to put this out to bid at a time when we think we can get good bids on the project and get good competitive bids. I just think a schedule works better to target like a fall or winter 2024 bidding.
All right. Any other comments? All right. Thank you very much. Told you I wouldn't say anything else. Kickoff in 10 minutes, right? 7. All right. Next, we're going to move on to Bill 23-66. An ordinance to the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with All Cleaner.
Excuse me, real quick. Guys, I just want to say, I'm sorry, Mike. I just want to say thanks for your work.
Thanks a lot.
Yes.
The board, I support you, and I'm sure the board does well. Thank you for your work.
We do appreciate it very much.
Sorry, Michael.
Thank you. No worries, no worries. All right. Ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with All Clear Pumping and Sewer LLC for the Granite Sewer CCTV and Cleaning Phase 1 project in the amount not to exceed $41,529.50. This is the first reading. Mike Weldy, please.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. This project was bid out in July. The city did receive 4 bids on this. The low bid is All Clear Pumping and Sewer with a bid of $41,529.50. There was an alternate on this bid. We kind of broke that out separately on purpose. The alternate is some gravity sewer that's much harder to get to. And so we were very worried about the quality and ability of us to camera that. Now, as you know, this is our first year that we're doing any major cammering. This is the first year we're gonna put cammering on every year on a 5-year rolling average so that we can make sure that we're staying up on all of our gravity. So the plan now is to have All Clear, who we feel like is the most qualified for this. I've checked their references. We found no problems. Everything is good. We've worked with them before. The plan is to have them do the camera work minus the alternate. They didn't even bid on the alternate because they knew how hard it was. And then have them work with them to kind of assess how we can better get to that, find better ways to do that, and then add this work, the harder work, on to either year 2 or 3. So that's currently our plan. Obviously, this is within the budget amount that we budgeted for this project. Unfortunately, due to other things that have happened in the sewer department, the account that this is in is already under budget. Gina and I will be going over budget amendments next week, and I believe that the plan is for her to have this budget amendment, along with a lot of other ones in sewer, all to the board at, I believe that would either be I think the next meeting in September. So with all that, sorry to babble a little bit there, but I do recommend approval. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, any comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve first reading?
So move.
Alderman Rose, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Ross, all those in favor?
Aye.
First reading passes. Next, we'll move on to Bill 23-67, ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing.
Blue sheet says first and second reading.
Oh.
Does it?
The blue sheet says first and second reading tonight.
Correct.
It's on the next.
No, I just said first on mine.
66.
Second reading.
First reading on 66.
Okay,
That's wrong.
Oh,
mine's wrong. That's okay, that's fine.
I'm not sure what happened. I only.
says first.
oh.
Yeah.
But
It says
requested
first.
action.
Requested action says first and second.
The department did an error here. This is,
Okay, all right.
sorry.
Under requested action, so that's okay, as long as we're all on the same page.
All right. Bill 23-67, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with First Choice Septic Plumbing LLC for sewer on-call and general maintenance service for an amount not to exceed $75,000. This is the first and second reading.
This one's correct.
Yes. All right. Mike Welty, please.
All right, so we're on the first choice one now, right?
23-67.
Sorry. Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. As you all know, we are short on experience in the sewer department. Just a quick personnel update. We are still 3 short in that department. We have 3 that have been with us for less than 3 months. And then we have 3 that have been with us for less than 2 years. This is a safety valve for us. This is, if we don't have the experience, then we can fall back on a plumbing contractor without having to come back to the board, without having to worry about, we can just get it done. It is a yearly not to exceed of 75,000, but I am saying that we will not need more than 40,000 within the calendar year. So with that, I do recommend approval. First Choice was the only one that bid on this. First Choice does have a lot of experience with our system, and I feel confident that they can fill in when we need them. I do recommend approval.
Comments or questions from the board? Alderman Osteen.
I have one question, and this is for Gina, actually.
Yes.
I'm curious on programs such as this, when basically it's like a safety net or a backup, how we budget that, as far as it's not actual expense, it's just up to if needed. I'm just
Well,
sure
when
how
we have these contracts where sometimes staff will ask, like, this is the services, we don't know how much we're gonna need, but we know we're gonna not to exceed. Cochran's like that too. We budget what, in this case, Mike is saying, hey, not to exceed 75,000 for a fiscal year, which is not the calendar year, and he's estimating 40,000. So I will present a budget amendment of 40. Now, if he ends the year and it's only 10, then that money just rolls over. That's just in the unrestricted and rolls over to the next year.
All right, I
Does that
was
make
just curious on the
sense?
accounting side of it, correct?
Yeah.
All right, anybody else? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve first reading?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Rucker, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Hoffman, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, first reading passes. Second reading, same bill, Bill 23-67, an ordinance to the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with First Choice Septic Plumbing LLC for sewer on-call and general maintenance services for amount not to exceed $75,000. If nobody else has thought of another question, do I have approval for second reading? A motion for second reading?
So moved.
Alderman Osteen, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Morose, roll call, please.
Alderman Rucker,
Yes.
Alderman Ross,
Yes.
Alderman Rose,
Yes.
Alderman Osteen,
Yes.
Alderman Hoffman,
Yes.
Alderman Schuman.
All right, second reading passes. Next, we have Bill 23-68, an ordinance to the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with Raftelis Consulting Inc., doing business as Raftelis, for the Public Works Operational Review and Assessment Project for an amount not to exceed $55,000. I apologize if I pronounced that wrong, but Mike Welty, please.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board, and you did pronounce that correctly. This project was bid out in June. The bid opening took place on, right there in the middle of July. The city received 3 bids. All bids were assessed by our project team, which was made up of myself, Michael Ray, and Zach Wilbur. Michael, as you know, is our HR general. Zach is our water foreman. Yes, we did pick the lowest of the 3 bids, but the reason why we picked the lowest of the 3 bids is because they put on the best presentation. They're also the closest to us. They're out of Kansas City. The other 2 were going to have a lot more travel expenses. That's why theirs was a little higher. We feel really comfortable with Raftelis, and we think that they're going to do a great job. I'm not going to read all 12 points that I have here in my discussion, Bob, I promise you.
You're not going to.
But this goes through all the details that we're going to try and get for the board. And the hope here is that after we get past the first of the year, we will have, not the hope, they will come before the board. They will provide a report to you guys showing you all of their results, all of their recommendations on staffing levels, process changes, whatever it may be that they find, they're going to bring that to you guys. And I really feel strongly that this is going to give us a great roadmap for the future of Public Works. Keep in mind, and I promise one more statement and then I will be done, but keep in mind that we've never done any assessment for Public Works for as long as I've been here. The city has grown around us. We need to make sure that we have the services and personnel in place and are properly set up to handle our infrastructure. I do recommend approval.
All right, thank you, Mike. Comments or questions from the board? Alderman Rose.
He answered my question. I was going to ask. I don't recall ever having this type of thing, and I think it's a wonderful thing because we've always had problems. It's a continued department that has problems no matter what, and we are short-staffed, and we have the best people that we have right now in training. I mean, at least they're here, they're showing up, but yeah, I think this is a good idea. And I'm all for it. I'd like to make a motion to move forward.
All right,
Do we have some discussion?
Yeah, anybody, any other discussion first? No, I'm sorry. Alderman Ross?
So generally, as a consultant, I've never really supported any consultants, okay? But when this came up in budget last fall, I let it roll, because I didn't, speak against it or worry too much about it, because it wasn't a large sum of money, and we were in a much different financial situation with our sewer department. And if you look at where we're at here, we're about, one of the next thing, one or two things that's gonna come up is we're already $77,000 overspent, and we want $90,000 more, and we've got budget amendments coming in the next 2 weeks that could total, I've heard, as much as $2 million, okay? And I don't know that that's what's gonna happen, but if it is, I'm not convinced this is the best time to spend, what is it, $50,000, $60,000 to assess our department. On top of that, I'm not even sure if we're in a position from a staffing and functionality standpoint that we can provide them the information and work with them in an effective way to get the best result out of it. So my recommendation is I'd like to see this tabled until next meeting, or at least after we kind of understand where we're at with sewer, and because I'm not sure where we're going to go find $2 million if we need it to get through the end of the year. And I've heard that number come out of some folks that work in the sewer department, so.
Other comments or questions from the board? Alderman Hoffman?
I kind of agree with Alderman Ross on that. This isn't a super pressing issue. I wouldn't mind tabling it. I lean towards supporting it. I'm just not sure we need to do it today. I kind of agree with that.
Mike, did you have some more to add?
Well, I don't want to interrupt Alderman Rucker. Let Alderman Rucker speak, and then I'll speak
Alderman Rucker?
afterwards.
So we're talking 50, what is it?
55.
55.
55. Okay. We won't spend that this year, will we?
There's no way that we're going to spend it all this year, maybe half.
So if we get started with it, we're looking at 25,000 that we're going to be spending this year, and the rest will be next year, right? I think we move forward with it.
Any other comments or questions from the board? All right.
One comment I will make, sir, listen, Alderman Ross is not wrong. The sewer department has some serious financing issues. But part of the reason why we have those financing issues is because we have went through so many years of not having the right standards in place and not having the right personnel in place. So I will gladly not do this if that's what the board wants to do, but I think that I think the better thing to do right now is to bite the bullet and let's find out what's going on and what needs to change, if anything needs to change. And then maybe that can help us get some of these costs back in line, get the people that we need to maintain this system the right way, get the infrastructure and the equipment lined up so that we can support this, this department the right way. That's the only comment I'll make. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments or questions from the board? Just keep in mind, this is the first reading. If you wanted to go ahead and pass it tonight and have any other comments or questions at the next reading for the second reading, debate it then. But anyway, Alderman Rose, did you still want to make the motion?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Did you still want to make your made the motion?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Alderman Rose made the motion to approve the first reading. Is there a second?
Second.
Alderman Rucker. Let's do a roll call vote, please.
Alderman Hoffman.
Yes.
Alderman Schuman. Alderman Rucker.
Yes.
Alderman Ross.
No.
Alderman Rose.
Yes.
Alderman Osteen.
No.
Okay.
It's 3-2.
Thanks.
All right. It failed. We do not
Does it
have
have to
all
have four?
6. Pardon me?
Does it have to have 4 or not?
It does, since we only have 5 here tonight. So the first reading failed.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Moving on to motion to approve the purchase of 2 new pumps, value replacements, and other parts for Rockaway Sewer Station from municipal equipment for an amount not to exceed $93,128.75. Mike Welty, please.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. This is just us purchasing the pumps and the valves to do the work in-house to cut out the broken valve system we have at that station and replace it with working valves. One comment I will make is 2 months ago, we wouldn't have been able to do this in-house. Thanks to the new management and leadership we have in the sewer department, they have the know-how to do this in-house. And so that's a huge asset to us. If we would have had to bid this out, you would have paid upwards of $300,000 to $400,000 to have this work done. Now, I don't say that to you so that I can, so that you guys can think that we can do all work in-house now. That's just two of our guys. But it sure is a blessing in this particular case because we're going to save a lot of money by having our own team do this work. Happy to answer any questions you may have about this. If the questions get too deep, I may refer to Mr. Van Leer. I do recommend approval.
All right, thank you, Mike. Comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Hoffman, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Ross, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Can I make a comment real quick? Just per the agenda, it doesn't state whether this was a first reading or first and second reading or discussion item.
Yeah, on the white sheet it did, but it's just a motion to
It's a
approve, excuse me.
motion, not an ordinance.
Not an ordinance.
Just curious.
Yeah. Okay. Now, discussion, appointed official determination for city engineer position. Gina Woods, please.
Yes, Mayor, members of the board. I was asked, it has been a while back in April, when when the board approved funding for the city engineer position, to be determined later if the board chooses this position to be an appointed official or not. I kind of gave an summary of what type of position, the exempt status, some few differences between appointed and non-appointed, but it basically boils down to our fourth class of city and how we operate. It is up to the board to appoint other positions that are not required by statute if it's in the best interest of the city. I just need direction as we are working on our organizational chart, and we are accepting applicants. I will say we've got about 3, and I don't believe any of them were PEs. So it's slow going. We did have a compensation study completed. You guys will have more of that information during your budget workshops or prior to. This did raise up a level, which we expected. I don't have that in front of me. But anyway, going forward, before we do have some applicants we're ready to interview, this is an integral part of knowledge for that certain individual. So.
All right, comments or questions from the board?
So are we looking for a motion?
A discussion right now.
It's discussion. I want some direction because it will take an ordinance change if it is appointed. As it stands now, it would just fall under the non-appointed status under the full section of 125. But if you want to make the change, I will have to bring back an ordinance to do that.
The discussion is whether you wanted to
Bring
change
back-
it to an appointed position.
Yeah, discussion, get consensus. Do you want to see an ordinance to consider? Just some direction.
Alderman
I
Rose.
have a question, which maybe everybody can answer it, but I'd like to have it clarified. The recent person that we hired, Nathan, he's a superintendent, is that
Yes,
correct?
He's the sewer superintendent,
Okay,
yes.
now, so what positions are we looking at? We've got the city engineer that we're looking at to try to replace, right?
This is the particular petition that I want to discuss tonight. This is just the city engineer. That is it is individual standing. It isn't part of Public Works necessarily. They obviously work in
Okay.
tandem with Public Works, just like building department, planning, and, attorney and all that. But this would be a standing city engineer that would have its own budget. So before, when we had the city engineer, we've had roped him into director, and this will be separate.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Anyone else? Alderman Ross.
Well, I guess if you go back in history, this has been kind of an interesting way that we don't have a city engineer in our ordinances, okay? By the way, we have a city traffic engineer all over our ordinances if you go,
I
if you
know.
go search for it. Didn't even know we had one of those in our ordinances. But we had a city engineer, and it was an appointed position. And John Ballard was a city engineer, and then John left, and Nick became the city engineer because we still had a public works, I don't know what you called him, but it was a director at that
Director
time.
with Ballard,
Right,
yeah.
we had 2 separate positions. And then they were combined.
Then they were combined.
Okay, and they were called Public Works Director, and that Public Works Director still
Was
exists
re-
in our ordinances.
That-
And one of the requirements in there is, or one of the recommendations is that it's a professional engineer, okay?
Yes.
But not required, all right? And so when those positions were combined, well, there was maybe had the best way to say is they had two hats. They were Public Works, a person that was managing Public Works as well as city engineer, okay?
Correct.
And so there was no formal city engineer because it had been combined. And then later on, when Nick left and we hired Cochran to be our quote city engineer, we didn't have an in-house city engineer, so I don't guess it really mattered whether it was in the ordinances and what levels and whether it's appointed or so forth. And now as we recreate that position, because we felt that's the best direction, I think we've talked about that, unless somebody wants to bring that up again, I don't know what we're talking about. It seems to me like it should be brought back up as an appointed position. At the end of the day, it's a pretty important position in the city, okay? It worked that way well. There was a reason why although it's not required by statute, Gina and I talked about that the other day, for some reason it had always been that way, okay? And at this point, I still believe that we all work better together when there's more folks. It's not at every position in the city by any means, but it's some of the most important positions that we should have the board and the mayor input on some of these positions. And I believe this one qualifies for that, so I'll leave it at that.
I agree.
Alderman Rucker.
Well, if you go back in time in history, it's my opinion, I wasn't on the board that long, but way back when, we didn't have the staff that we do now, and there was a lot of positions that were filled that were classified as appointed. This one, as it's been mentioned, is not required by statute. So it doesn't have to be. We have, since that time, our staffing and our city has grown. I don't believe need to have that position be appointed. I believe the position should be a position that answers to our administrator, our city administrator, and that our professional staff that we have does the hiring and the firing of that position as needed. And as far as that goes, as far as the input from the board to those positions, we can change that to where we can have input into their evaluations if we want to, and even if we don't have any ordinance. I have never walked into a city administrator's office and said, hey, it's time for evaluations. I got some comments I want to make on this employee. Oh, no, you can't say that because they're not appointed. No, that's never been said to me. And I've voiced things both positive and negative on employees that are not appointed. So we have, if we feel that we need to put it in writing that we have to have some input on their evaluations or whatever, I think that's something. But as far as the hiring and the firing portion of it, I believe that this is not a position that needs to be in that situation. Thank you.
Alderman Hoffman.
My question is, I'm not sure who to pose this to, but the position got combined, went away before. I don't want to see that happen again. I think once we go through this process to have a city engineer, I don't want it to happen again to where this position is lost. So if that needs to be appointed to secure that, then I'm for it. If that's not the case, then I would lean towards what Alderman Rucker just said.
Alderman Hoffman, the budget, included in the budget is a organizational chart, and I know that the organizational chart and assessment and placement is under, that's kind of my responsibility, but I purposely put it in the budget, and you fund those positions as the org chart. So that is fluid and that moves. So whether who hires it, you guys still overall approve, yeah, this is the organizational chart, and you approve funding for positions, whether they're appointed or not.
All right, thank you.
Alderman Ross.
Rucker,
excuse me.
Just for clarifications, sure a lot of the other board, but you may not know. What occurred was under previous city administrator, we lost the public works person, okay? And at that point, we needed to replace the public works person, and it was felt that the public works person should be and would be better served if it was an engineer. So that's how they got combined, okay? And then what happened is we lost that person. That person left us, okay? So we were without an engineer, and immediately what was done with the advice of our city administrator is we hired a consultant engineer to get us through the immediate situation.
Gotcha.
Okay, and that's where we're at now. Now, and that, to be very honest, some of us felt like we do need an engineer back. Some felt no, so there was some time. And so now it's come forth that, yes, we do want an in-house engineer. Do we want a complete engineering staff? I'm not in favor of that, of multiple people in that department, but that's not the issue. The issue here is just that engineer. So
Gotcha.
hopefully that.
Yep, thanks for the clarification.
Any other comments, questions from the board? Alderman Osteen.
Yes, I've got a
Talkative
fun,
tonight.
I've got a fun interactive question for everyone. Excluding the Board of Aldermen, for everybody else in this room, raise your hand if you're in an appointed position. I'm just trying to get this as a discussion item to kind of put things in perspective as far as appointed versus not appointed or just a hired employee, especially in discussions about what is integral to the city and the benefit of the city and the future of the city, to kind of help put things in perspective. Appointed versus not appointed. That's all.
Good point.
All right. Any other comments or questions from the board? All right, this is a discussion item, and I don't know if you know which direction to go, do you?
Well, I think there's a split. I understand I mean, there's both sides, I guess. Maybe it's not even equal, because I don't know. I guess that way to put your vote to it, I can create the ordinance. And the reason why we've never had a city engineer ordinance, because it was changed Public Works Director, because that wasn't the title. So to put it to vote, that'd be the way to say yay or nay.
I would agree.
Okay. That's a consensus? All right, very good. All right, moving on to our last item. Motion to approve the purchase and installation of the insertion valve from Core and Main for an amount not to exceed $39,662.50 from the Rockaway Sewage Station. Mike Welty again, please.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board, and thank you, Gina, for letting me add this 2 days before the board meeting. I
Only get
really
so many.
appreciate that. Everything that I talked about a moment ago when we were talking about Rockaway and the buying the pumps and the buying the parts, none of that is possible without what we call an insertive valve or an insertion valve. All of the isolation valves on this station are broken. So there is no way to shut this station off right now. It is impossible to shut off. All I can do is hire a professional. These types of valves cannot be installed without a professional certified technician, and have them cut the line live and install it live. And that is the only way that I can shut the service to this station off so that we can get this work done. Now, like I said, other than this insertion valve, all the work is going to be done in-house. But this valve is integral to us getting that complete. I do recommend approval.
All right, thank you, Mike. Comments or questions from the board? Alderman Rose.
I don't think it takes a rocket scientist. I'll just vote to go ahead and do it.
All right, well, see if we have any comments or questions from anybody else first, please. All right. We have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
All right, we already have one. Do you have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, on to staff communications. City Administrator Gina Woods, please.
2 quick things. Sunday is MML. For those of you going, I will send out an email. I hope you've been looking at your emails and have an agenda. There is an app you can download if you want to know where you're going. Anyway, hope to see you. Look forward to seeing you on your Sunday.
I have a tour guide.
You're going.
The other thing, I don't really have any updates on my update list. Incentive guidelines is really the one thing I am still working on that, didn't make it in August, Bob, sorry. I am working on it though. We are in the midst of budget, but I've got a draft outline. I just want to corral city attorney and a couple of the departments, just take a peek at what I've missed. But other than that, I don't have any other comments on those items.
Assistant City Administrator Mike Welty, please.
Sir, I think I've said enough tonight.
Yeah.
I'll pass.
Me too. City Clerk Tara Barrett.
No, I don't have anything other than Jen is gonna step in and help out in October. I'll be gone for my son's wedding, so she's gonna take minutes, so be nice. I've given her a little cheat sheet, so she can call out names, and so she knows where everybody's sitting, so when you make your motions, please say your name, so she gets it out there. She'll do just fine.
Yes.
So, and then I'll be gone to MML with the rest of you, so.
Yay. Cool.
Yeah, I'm ready. All
There you
right,
go.
that's it.
Thank you. All right. City Treasurer Carrie Bell, please.
Mayor and Board of Aldermen, I don't usually have much to say. Take just a couple minutes to kind of, I don't know if the board is really familiar. Myself and the city clerk has always kind of done records maintenance. And for many years, our main records location was at the old Public Works building. And for admin side, that meant up some very steep stairs. And the police also had a section that was ground level. And as that environment kept getting worse, and because 90% of those records obviously were financial records, over the last several years, I've been trying to remove them completely from that location and get rid of the things that timed out, most of the items, 5 years, and it got down to just that core bit of items that were possibly historical. Doug helped me move what was left, so 100%. There are no records stored at City Hall by my department, and the police department also removed all of their records. We brought what couldn't be destroyed over to City Hall and have been gradually working through it in the lower level. I know it's come up about joint sewer board records off and on. I have located a couple of boxes. I'm in the process of organizing them, scanning them, and they are available on Citywide. If anybody needs something to put themselves to sleep at night. But I did locate some of the original construction of the plant and some of the grant documents that have always kind of been in question. But if anybody's interested, those documents are going to be kept on Citywide. Yeah, some of those records do date back to the 80s. So it's kind of interesting, but that's what I'm up to when I'm not in my office doing normal stuff. Thank you.
All right, thank you. City Attorney Cole Bradbury.
Just the Chiefs are down 7-0.
All right.
I didn't mean it that way.
Chief Davis?
I'm gonna have to take care of this guy. We did have a new dispatcher start last week, Kayla Smith, and we got another offer letter out, another one, I believe. Yes. And our police recruit, Felicia Carson, that's in the academy, graduates next Thursday, and she'll be on the road on Friday. So, with Bike Fest. So, we'll break her in quick.
Wow.
Initiation.
Yep.
Building official Ron White.
I have nothing. Thank you. Go Chiefs.
Human Resources Michael Reyes.
No departmental updates, but I know we talked earlier about the sewer department and lacking experience. A lot of those guys, I think we've got a good team together with Nathan and Chris coming on now. The guys that have been with us have been doing a great job. The new guys that we've hired, they're jumping right in, they're learning, and I think, Nathan and Chris, they're definitely going to get them the experience they need.
All right. Dave Van Leer, you have anything else?
Just a quick update on a few things. As you can see, the work continues here at City Hall. Over the last month, you've seen the emergency exit going in down below City Hall, so that's kind of a new update on that project. Long list of projects that we're working on, designed for
for fall and winter bidding. Two of the bigger projects currently working on are the Osage Beach Road replacement and then resewering at Elbow K out in Tantera. If there's any other questions, happy to address them.
Parks, Eric Gregory.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll try to keep this brief. I know everybody wants to get to the game. September is a very busy month for the Parks Department. Lakes of the Ozarks Yoga and Fitness is offering a free yoga class in the park this Saturday, September 9th, starting at 9 a.m. And that will be on City Park at Soccer Field 1. I believe Ron White is leading that class, so if you all want to come out. Come on.
Bring your own spandex.
Get your yoga on. The following weekend, the Osage Beach Rummage Sale will be at City Park this year instead of City Hall, and we have probably twice as many participants as we did last year sign up. That'll be September 7th, Saturday, September 16th from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. at City Park. We will have 3 food trucks on hand, including Bless This Burger and a breakfast food truck, a new one. Registration officially ended last week, but we will continue to, if anybody wants to come out, accept registration through next week. However, registration will be considered on the map for the residents out in the city has closed. So, and then the Fall Food Truck Festival is coming up the following weekend after that, September 23rd and Sunday, September 24th. That will be 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. on both days. We have 23 food trucks, vendor village, live music, bounce house obstacle course for kids.
I will be leading that one.
Yes, Ron will be there leading the way. Just to consider, we had 7,500 people attend the Spring Food Truck Festival, and we had 17 trucks at that one. So we're anticipating even more attendance this year. For more information about any of these events, please visit the Osage Beach Parks and Recreation Facebook page or give us a call at the Parks and Rec office at 573-302-7460. And then in closing, I wanted to wish a good luck to Jake Alexander. He's our recreation specialist for the Parks Department, whose last day was today after 2 years with the city, and he did a great job, and we wish him luck. That's all I have.
All right.
Very good.
Thank you, thank you. Alderman Rucker. Oh, who did I miss? Oh, I'm sorry, Ty. I don't have anything. Sorry.
Nothing, sir.
Airport.
Thank you.
See, I knew he didn't have anything.
A couple of things. First of all, at our last meeting, we had a presentation given to us by the folks that are interested in running the ballpark. And there was some comments and stuff that was made about the fact of them being able to have plenty of employees and we don't and et cetera. And I listened to that and so I did a little research on it. I reached out to the people at that were here, and I spoke with them. I'm not going to give away the amounts because it's our corporation, and I don't want to do that. But I will tell you that their umpires make more than ours do. That's the first thing. They make more per game than ours do. Second thing is our umpires will end up with maybe they could do 3 games a day. Their umpires generally can do 4 to 10 a day. So, you know, there's quite a bit of more money that they can be made there. So does that mean, in my opinion, that's why they have a bigger draw than what we do? Secondly, under concession people, we're paying about the same. Actually, they're paying just a little bit more than we are. But the significance is the fact that our concessionaires get about 20 to 30 hours maybe throughout the whole week. Theirs get about 30 to 40 hours on a weekend. So again, you know, they work a couple, 2 or 3 days, and they make lots more money. So we are drawing from the same pool, so to speak, but yet there's different carrots being offered. The other thing is for those folks out in that area, especially the people for the concession, there's not a lot of other jobs around there. I just seen in the last 2 days. 2 different places right here in Osage Beach where there's $14 an hour for kids to come right in. And Boat Dock was, of course, now the season's over with, but I know some people on the boat docks that were doing gassing and stuff that were making lots more than $14 an hour with tips. So what we have to compete against is different. So I don't think we can compete or can compare. The other thing is I know that Alderman Ross didn't care for the fact that the parks people weren't working on the holiday. I fully support that. I'm glad you gave them a holiday off. I totally disagree with the remarks that were made. We are a parks department. We're not a competitive softball field program. Those people that are in that, I would expect them to work on the holidays because that's when they're going to have their games. But our recreational people that run the parks don't. So I fully support the fact that you gave those folks off and aren't requiring them to work on the holidays. On a lighter note, the list of departments update. Presently, all but about 2 or 3 of those are things that I added to the list originally. And there's a number of things here that in the interest of time, I will send out in an email to the board as well as the staff. But just to give you a real quick what I'm looking at, and the fact that the emergency generator backup, okay, that was, if you read it, it's a plan. We've never heard of a plan. What is the plan? The plan would be the fact that we are evaluating everything we have right now, and we expect to have a report back in this date, and then the plan is that we're going to replace them in 2024. In the discussion, take it off the list, move on. Okay, there's a number of these things in here that are plans that are asked for, but we haven't heard the plan. So anyway, in the interest of time, I will go away from that because I've got a number of items there. And on a very, very much heavy note, heavy being positive, we need to be aware of our business community and our employees, employers, et cetera, et cetera. There's 2 things that have happened here in our community within the last 7-8 days that is great. Number one, and I don't have the exact, well, number one, the hospital. The hospital was voted, and I might mess this up because I've seen it and I didn't write it down. They were voted by Forbes, had to be the best hospital in providing best hospital for their employees. So their employees got a lot, and this was voted on by their employees and patients that brought up. So we've got a hospital here that is got employees that are considered to be some of the best employees, and the employees think they are the best, and they enjoy it. So you talk about customer service, and one more step onto that is Hy-Vee. Okay, and I'm sure other stores get this, and when they do, whether it's Deerberg's or Woods, whoever, I think we need to know about it. But Hy-Vee had a recognition of Mark Mihaler, and I'll probably mispronounce Mark's last name, but I always know him as Mark. I don't know him, but I see him in there, and Mark is an excellent customer service person. Excellent. I can go on with stories after stories of little things I've seen him do. Well, lo and behold, Mark got nominated and awarded as the Community Customer Service Award out of the 800, let me get it correct here. Excuse me. Come on, fingers. Of the 80,000 employees that Hy-Vee has, and out of the 285 stores, he was nominated for this month being the Customer Service Award. And that's one of our local people. So they're doing that. That's helping us. That's helping our community out. Customer service, I've heard Alderman Ross pound that in our heads about customer service, customer service. Here's some people we can take some examples of. There's some good customer service that we can follow, so where we can end up being the best customer service. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman Hoff.
Nothing tonight. Chiefs tied it up. Go Chiefs.
Alderman Osteen.
Yes, I've got a few things this evening. First of all, Kevin stole some of my thunder. I want to discuss the department list. The reason this list was initiated was basically to hold departments accountable for items that were discussed between departments and the board to give us some time frame for resolution. I don't remember when I spearheaded trying to get this implemented, but I believe it was in March. Here we sit 6 months later, and the majority of the items of this list have been sitting on here for 6 months. That to me is an embarrassment for a lot of our departments. Because as was stated, a lot of these are, just give us a plan, give us a tentative idea, let's get these off this list. Instead, once again, we just keep kicking these down the curb, down the future with no resolution. If you look at the list, some of these say we'll have an answer in July, some say August. Guess what? Some of these have been here since we initiated this in March, and I think that's an embarrassment for a lot of us. I'm just asking that if we don't have resolution to these items, verbatim state, we will not get to this before the end of the year, and then we can move on. Therefore, we've got some idea for time frame. I think one of the reasons why the citizens and individuals think so poorly of government when it comes to processes is because it moves like molasses. This is a good example of supporting that idea, that when things come before government officials or a body, basically, how long does it take to get resolution? You guys know me well enough to know I'm a pretty easygoing guy, and I don't smack hands very often. But this, to me, obviously, is something that I think we all need to review and think hard about. On a lighter note, looking forward to the MML conference, and what we will learn from there is always very entertaining and very educational, especially with the breakout sessions where they basically are having sessions regarding things that are coming before us, like last year when they started talking about marijuana. I'm curious to see what's going to be on the agenda for this year. Other than that, go Lions.
Oh, grumble, grumble.
Aren't you up for your re-election soon?
2 years. That's all.
Alderman Morose.
I'm going to keep it brief, but I just think a shout out, talking about a business community, it just seemed to be really, it stood out more to me Labor Day weekend than, I don't know why, but businesses took their pride in mowing the grass. I mean, I know our own departments were out there and cleaning up and mowing, but I went up and down the parkway, I thought, gee, I mean, even vacant lots that were for sale were mowed. And I thought, if this doesn't look nice for the holiday, I was embarrassed for MoDOT crossing the Glazed Bridge because it was pretty filthy, but anyway. But I just thought, hey, kudos to our parkway, to our city departments to keeping the parkway very clean and neat. Yeah, and that's it.
All right, thank you. Alderman Rush.
Just one quick thing, next Wednesday, I think one of the coolest, what do I want to say, fundraising events here locally is the Wing Fest at the Regalia. It's at 5 p.m. Tickets are available at Central Bank and also at Nick's True Value over here on KK. So I hope to see as many folk. Right now, the weather says it's going to be a perfect day. So that's all I have. Thank you.
And they can buy them there too, correct? A little more
day of
expensive?
the show, yeah,
Yes.
the day of the show at the place, you can buy them, it's $5 more. $15 ahead of time and $20, for lack of a better term, day of the show.
Did you say it was Wednesday at 5?
Wednesday at 5.
So we're leaving KC around noon.
You got time.
All right. 3 quick things. Sorry I cannot join you at the MML conference, Mike. So we'll do that another time. And be careful. I've had Eric get a hold of me and Cole get a hold of me. They received an email from me that was a scam.
I did too.
Did you really?
Twice now.
So,
I did too.
and anyway, if anybody else did, I'm not tied up or anything. So just so you know. So I know you reported to Michael today, so anyway, I don't know who did what.
Our
but-
system caught my second one. So, yeah.
And the other thing is just Bike Fest next week. Watch out for the bikers, people down home.
yeah.
And there's going to be 100,000+ bikes around here. And good luck to you, Chief, and watch out for those folks. So that's all I have. So if I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
Alderman Rucker, second Alderman Morose. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned.
Ron.